Hello everybody, I'm Xany, and today I wanted to discuss with you whether Valve updating Team Fortress 2 towards a more competitive side than a more casual side could ruin the game for a majority of players. Now, I'm gonna start this with saying I don't hate competitive. I just want to kind of put this out. I had this discussion with a friend the other day, and it really got me thinking because Team Fortress 2 is primarily a casual game. Like, I would say a huge amount of the player base doesn't know much about the competitive scene in itself or play competitive. Their entire Team Fortress 2 experience is centered around playing in casual servers or pubs if they play on community servers, Versext, Inhale, times 10, randomizer, all that wacky stuff that people love. Now, for like the last 9 years, Team Fortress 2 has been that kind of game. You hop into a server with 24 players and it's been updated for that. Things like the Criticola exist because of this, and when you take the Criticola in a 12v12 situation, it's not going to be as powerful because there's a lot more chances for you to get hit by one of those 12 players instead of 6. Now, when you use this weapon in a 6's environment, in the hands of an amazing scout, or, a pretty good scout who's got some good movement, it makes him faster and more powerful in exchange for taking a bit more damage, which isn't going to be as bad if you have a lot of good movement and can get around. Now, what if they nerf this? Would that affect pubs? I don't think so. This kind of weapon, the Criticola, wouldn't really affect it, because not many people use it in pubs. It's not very good there because of how much risk you take for the reward of doing more damage. It's not truly worth it, I would say, in my opinion. But what if they start changing things in competitive to cater towards that? Like, let's say they start doing class restrictions and weapon restrictions in competitive. Now, from my point of view, this would completely ruin the game because Valve would stop focusing on testing and balancing things together in the more expanded realm like you would see in a casual mode. And to think about this, I'm gonna turn it over to Overwatch. That big game that came out, everyone's talking about. Now, in Overwatch, your casual mode and your competitive mode are exactly the same, 6v6. So, there's not a huge amount of balancing they need to do to, keep the 12v12 and the 6v6 happy. There is only 6v6. Now, I have a huge problem with that just because quick play isn't casual. You can't just hop in and mess around, but that's a different problem. Now, my problem with Overwatch related to this discussion is Overwatch banned hero stacking in competitive. So that means you can't have 2 Winstons, 2 Tracers, and 2 Lucios on a King of the Hill map like was the meta before they did that. And that was good because there were some wacky things. Like, I watched one tournament where one team ran 6 Soldier 76s on a King of the Hill map and won. The other team didn't even touch the point. And that's insane. So what was Blizzard's response to this? They banned hero stacking in competitive. And I don't think that's the right way to go about it, because that'd be like in Team Fortress 2 if they said, well, having 2 medics is just too powerful, we're just going to put a class limit on that instead of balancing it. And this completely ruins quick play because in competitive you can't hero stack, but in casual or quick play you can hero stack as much as you want, and you can go against the most annoying teams that have ever. It's not fun to go against these 6-man stacks of one hero that on his own is annoying, but when there's 6 of them, it's hell. It's not fun. And that is never going to be fixed in Overwatch because it's not catering to the competitive environment that Overwatch wants to foster. And I really don't want to see Team Fortress 2 go down that route. Now, this can also be my advocation for not putting in class limits or weapon bans in Team Fortress 2's competitive. Because if they're going to be focusing more on competitive updates, and they don't do that, they're going to have to balance weapons. Things like the Sandman, obviously, I have problems with. I don't think the Sandman is a very good weapon. I don't like stuns in video games, so that's my personal bias, and I would rather it be reworked to do something else that would be more rewarding than just, I got to mid, I'm gonna just Hail Mary this ball and see if I hit someone and stun them for 6 seconds. That's not, I don't see that as a very fun weapon. And maybe, rework some other weapons that are kind of dumb, but never ban something or outright ignore something that would affect casual, because like I said, a huge amount of Team Fortress 2's player base are casual players, people who aren't interested in competitive or have never been exposed to competitive. And if we keep the 2 experiences the same, casual and competitive, it makes it a lot easier to transfer over. This is my idea of why Valve added the casual server browser and the competitive server browser in the Meet Your Match update. I know a lot of people don't like it, but my own ideals about it are they created the 2 server browsers so the 2 game modes would lead into each other. So, competitive wouldn't be that hard to access from casual like it used to be. I mean, you would have to go to third-party websites like TF2 Center beginner, mixed champ, anything like that, or go do pugs like Newbie Mix, which is an amazing service, don't get me wrong, like I love it, but for a lot of people that's a bit too much work. So making it more accessible and easier to see, easier to gain access to, and easier to understand for newer players is essential. Now, like I was saying about at the beginning about balancing ruining it, I don't want to see them change something only for competitive. Like, let's say they change the scatter gun to do less damage. We're talking like really like huge, you know, situation here, because Scout is super powerful. Scout is really good in like high levels, but if they did that, that would affect pubs, because a lot of pub scouts aren't like really good at aiming, and the scattergun doesn't do too much damage for them. So if you did that in a pub or in, you know, your casual environments, that would ruin the flow of the game. That kind of change would ruin the pub experience or the casual experience for TF2. Anything that would break the flow there or make it too confusing would just not work. Now, things like making descriptions clearer and stuff like that would be excellent because for newer players, because there are a lot of confusing things in Team Fortress 2. Like, yeah, there's a lot of really, like, the whole concept of Ubers and like crit heals and all that would be nice to explain to newer players, but the idea that you would cater to more of a competitive audience than the casual audience would just ruin this game. Because if we completely restricted Team Fortress 2's competitive to 2 scouts, 2 demomen, or 2 scouts, 2 soldiers, and a medic and a demo, and then, you know, the 1 limit for the others or whatever it is in the SCA, like 2 snipers, 1 heavy, all that stuff, that would turn the focus of the Team Fortress 2 development team to focusing on balancing those specific classes to fit those roles. Where in the matchmaking we have now, yes, you might run into a team that has 5 scouts and 1 medic, but that might be annoying to fight against. But I don't think the way to deal with that is to just be like, well, we need class limits. No, I think it should be balanced more so that these can be dealt with better. And I know Heavy's got the Natasha, but Heavy's too slow to like get out unless you got a whip and the gloves. But what I'm saying is Team Fortress 2 needs to have these open boundaries to what you can do, because without it in competitive, they're not going to cater to every class being accessible. And I realize that there's the generalist and specialist classes and 6s. Like, you're always gonna want to have the 2 soldiers, 2 scout, demo, and a medic in most all situations. And the other classes, sniper, pyro, heavy, spy, fit into very specific situations that they fill well. I mean, sniper for getting picks, same with spy, heavy for defending last, and pyro for denying Ubers. But if that's all they're supposed to do, Valve just accepts that, the classes are never gonna get any rounder. They're never going to expand on themselves, and they're going to just kind of be that. The pyro will only be for denying Ubers. The heavy will just be for defense. He'll pretty much just turn into a sentry. And I really don't want to see that happen. I love pubs. So I don't know what you think. Like, maybe you think like class restrictions would be a great thing for this game, and like Valve would still update for the casual and for the competitive. Or maybe you think that Valve shouldn't implement any whitelists or like class limits to their competitive game mode because you have your own reasons that are different than mine. I don't know. I want to hear from you guys what you think about this topic. Maybe I've just been rambling on for like 10 minutes, but that's up to you. Yeah, I hope you have a great day, and tell me what you think about this.